Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Ted, and today I'm joined by
Nerdarchy's Dave.
Nathan Nerdarch.
And today in this GM 911, the players want to civilize these savages. Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
You can also find the original copy to the GM 911 we're going to do that came in through via Patreon. Also, if you guys have GM 911s, you can send them to nerdarchy@gmail.com.
So this one comes from Chad over on Patreon, and the brief synopsis of what he wants is there's a bunch of monstrous humanoids. They're not evil. They're just uncivilized. His players want to make a town out of them. What does he do?
Yeah. So essentially what he's saying is, in his world, it's not a black and white, good or evil. It's monstrous humanoids are just considered uncivilized and considered the barbarians of his world. And the world's response to barbarians in his world is to kill them. And that's what he expected his players to do. But they're not cooperating. They want to put them into a city and make them civilized. And he wants to know what to do. How do you do that? He's like, there's interesting things that'll they're going to come up, like having to deal with racism in his game and other things like that. But he does not sure where to go from here.
Well, I look at this as this is the first step that needs to be figured out is what kind of involvement does he want to have as a DM. So if he wants these things to completely change his world, make this whole city and have this become its own thing, the players get to be involved. We get to have this cool thing that happens in his world. I think it's fantastic. But if he doesn't want to get into all of that, then the quote-unquote barbarians don't want this, and they rebel against this whole being civilized, and they try to keep, heading out of the walls. They keep trying to go back to the way they know, the way they want to do, and you have that as your troubles and your problems.
Well, first of all, like, how'd you get him in there in the first place? I feel like Chad's jumped the Shark Tank on this one a little bit, right? So literally, as a GM, you could go, oh, that's a great idea. What are you doing? And they're going to go, well, we just want to have a city and put them all in there. Well, that's not how cities work. That's not how any of this works.
Well, wait a second.
Back in the day, okay.
I've played games where I say create city, and the next thing you know, the worker works, and poof, city. Isn't that how it works?
As long as you have the minerals and the wood. And...
Yeah. Let's go back to old school World of Warcraft here. I mean, actually, Warcraft 2. So you're going to put a peasant and your town hall. Your town hall is going to go next to woods. It's going to go next to, like resources, gold, lumber, that kind of stuff. You're not going to put a city just because you feel like it's someplace. Like you've got to have a capital to build a city. You've got to have the reason to build the city is not just, well, we want to shove a whole bunch of people in here that don't live in cities and probably aren't going to like it into here. So a prison for people that don't belong in jail? Well,
so yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Why do people build cities? Why do they populate for reasons? There has to be resources, food, water, maybe because it's defensible. Like there's a ton of different reasons why you would pick a particular location. Well, here's the other thing. You're also going to have a conflict of culture, because if these barbarians like the way they live, then might have a hard time convincing them to become part of the city. And also, we're kind of like tongue-in-cheek joking about it. Literally, it would take years and years to build a city anyway. Unless you already happen to have one that's abandoned, or you're going to introduce them to an existing city, there's no city. All you do is have a bunch of people. And if you put a bunch of people in a place, just look what happens anytime there's any kind of...
like refugee camps or just famine assistance stuff.
Yeah, anytime you get that, right, generally those people, a lot of times their circumstances get worse, not better.
Yeah.
You have problems with crime and all kinds of things. And if you're you're saying these people are uncivilized and savage to begin with, right? So they're probably going to be killing each other, because that's how they're going to solve their disputes. They're going to be fighting over limited resources. So how would you really do this campaign? Let's backtrack a little bit, Chad. Here's what I would do. I would say, hey, how are you going to do this? right? And they might say this, that, or the other thing, and I'd be like, well, you're gonna actually have to convince them that they want to be civilized, that they want to live in groups. You're gonna have to convince them that there's benefits to this. And if you're talking about a bunch of different tribes, that means you have to get a bunch of different people to agree. Have you ever tried doing that before? And
especially ones from different cultures, different species that probably have killed each other over disputes on things. So
Hunting grounds, limited resources.
and not only that, these guys probably solve most of their problems with violence. So that's the people that your players want to go have a discussion with and convince that they should all hang out and be buds now. Like, so they're gonna have to sell them on the benefits of working together and coming together.
So what I would do, in correspondence to that, is, pick X number of tribes that you're going to try and bring together. Have a set DC for, a persuasion check, and have them all be different. And have a list of things that they might be able to do or say that might bring that check down a little bit.
Kind of like faction points?
Yeah. And have that each thing that they do is worth a point, and be willing to, improv on the fly if they come up with something that's not on your list, but sounds like it would work. And go to each one, do whatever they need to do, say whatever they need to say, and once they've been convinced, or it's been resolved that they are not convinced, move on to the next one. Once you have enough that you feel that you could actually begin doing this, you get the groups together, and you need to have somebody who is skilled at buildings. Now, if you, as Dave said, you've got a miraculous city that they can move into, well then great. Chances are less than likely that that's going to be the thing. So you're going to have to encourage and get these people to move to wherever there is a location big enough, and then they're going to have to rebuild. This might present new challenges, and it might create tension where it's like, well, listen, we don't want to move. We're happy here. So now things wind up changing again. So this is going to be a very teeter-totter seesaw, back and forth problem.
A lot of politics, a lot of non-combat situations that have a big risk reward attached to it for their plans.
Right.
I would come up with the top 3 to 5 movers and shakers in this region, right? And then for each of those, I would come up with 1 to 3 reasons, or 1 to 3 goals or objectives that they each have, what they care about, right? And then once you have that, the players can kind of figure out, well, how can bringing civilization and bringing them all together, how can it help meet those goals and objectives? Maybe it can, maybe it can't.
Gotta sell the sizzle.
Absolutely. But here's the thing, right? Well, you might, for each one of those mover shakers, come up with, either allies or enemies or foils, if you go back to one of the unearthed arcanas, right, that are going to be either working towards this goal with you or against it. Literally, like, you could have allies within a tribe where the main people in the tribe themselves don't really want this, but there might be a small contingent that does. So now you have an ally to help you work towards that goal. And the same could go for another tribe where, it seems like the chief and the elders, they're all for it, but maybe there's some dissonance in there that are going to cause some problems, including up to a change of power within the tribe itself that could totally flip everything.
Yeah.
So my idea, take those dissonance that you were talking about, because everyone's got their rebels, everyone's got their young upstart who wants to be chief or the person in charge or make his own tribe or whatever. You grab those people that show promise based on what the chieftain says and what people so you have to get in with the different tribes and talk to them. You take those people and you have the chiefs. You talk with the chief and say, "Hey, I'd like to take these people off your hands. So can we kind of convince them that what I'm going to suggest is a good idea? This civilized area. Either like if one of the chiefs really likes a certain type of mineral or something like that, it was like, well, let's say the trolls like a green gemstone or something just because they're green. I don't know, but anyway, you can say, well, we've got this place up north where these gemstones are mined. And that would be a reason to have the city, the mining operation. So it could start as a small mining town. But maybe there's also a need there's like a lot of nasty things in the area. So you're going to need another tribe who's very skilled warriors to have some of their more rebellious people that are interested in moving or doing something that the tribe in general doesn't
All
want
right,
to
we
do.
got a troll sweatshop. We've got mercenaries.
Yes. So there's a few ways you could do that. I mean, ideally, you could set up some kind of slave state where all these people are, or you could set up more of a thing where it's a risk reward. They're getting, in a sense, their own tribe. So you sell it on the idea that, hey, rebel, you didn't like your chieftain anyway. Rather than doing something dangerous or trying to kill him, you move up there. We give you correspondence
To this nice camp where we're going to achieve some labor.
where you're going to get stuff that's going to your idea. Like, let's say it's a troll, and trolls, and they like this particular gemstone. I don't know, they lick it or eat it or whatever, or they just like to wear it. That is.
I like the idea they lick these gemstones and stones, they get them high.
So, and maybe it's some kind of arsenide compound that would kill other people, but the trolls love it. So no one else is interested in this, but you're going to mass this giant wealth. This person's going to send stuff back and be like, hey, you know, the guys up here would sure like some wives. So here is like dowries and stuff like that. And the idea of like the people that moved, the men or women,
husbands. They might want husbands.
Yes, the men or women that moved up to do this, the rebels, moved up to do this, they're showing wealth and prosperity. So people are like, huh, I think I want to move up there too and grab myself a spouse or something. And then you're going to have children from that. So you're eventually just going to have like two different nations in a sense. You're going to have the rebels that left and formed another community. And you're going to have the old time chieftainess and area and stuff. And basically, then you can play the whole grass is always greener on the other side thing, where some of the people that are discontented with the amount of wealth up there are going to move up there. I mean, that's how you get cities in a sense. You've got these people all like going from poor areas, farmland, to trying to make a quick buck in the city, and then they're kind of stuck there most of the time.
I think the gist of the matter is, like, the city thing is not going to happen overnight, or maybe even it may happen over the length of the campaign. The real fun is going to be interacting with all these different tribes, trying to solve problems, trying to get people to work together, trying to end disputes. It may or may not ever come to building of a city, but what it could come to is a lot of adventures. Also, if you want like more information and go into more detail of this stuff, just look throughout history and see what happens when a more civilized people comes in contact with a less civilized people, and that's going to actually give you a real idea what's going to really happen. And generally, it's never good for the less civilized culture, unfortunately. So there's plenty of that too. But you could use that and take that and build off of that for further adventures, further things to explore, role-playing opportunities. You know, maybe the players start with these great intentions and it starts turning south, but as they have to bring more people in, get more people involved, and these more people, some of them, maybe they don't have the best intentions in mind. Maybe they're a little more nefarious and they want to profit off of it. So then, you know, then it could end up like you have these tribes of barbarians that now the players are kind of championing for, and they're becoming like rebel fighters, and you know, like the city never ever gets built, but like all these cool role playing things can happen.
So what do you guys think? Is there something we missed? Do you have any awesome suggestions for Chad? There's a great place to talk about that, and that's down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Check us out over on Facebook.
Also, patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
So until next time, stay nerdy.